March 2003. I'm still a picture framer at Frame Art Galleries, still reading a lot of crazy stuff. So we're going to jump right into what I read in March of 2003. And I started with The Kill Artist by Daniel Silva. This is the first in a series. I think there's 3 books. The main character is Gabriel Allen or Alon. Not sure how you pronounce it. Didn't remember anything about this. Had to look it up on Amazon. And reading the synopsis, I thought, wow, this probably doesn't age well. I could be wrong about that. But hear me out. Gabriel, our main character, is currently working as an art restorer, but is a former member of Israeli intelligence, or I believe he was an assassin, because it's like the Gabriel Alon assassin series. He's called out of retirement because there's a worldwide threat. He's forced to work with a woman who's undercover as a fashion model, but she's a killer too, I think. But there's a Palestinian zealot is their target. So we have Israeli intelligence as the good guys, a Palestinian as the bad guy. I don't remember anything about this book. I like books with bad guys as the main character. So reading a book about an assassin as the main character is something I would definitely do, but I don't remember if this was any good or not. And as I said, not sure how people would view it in through a modern lens. But either way, Kill Artist by Daniel Silva. We'll follow that up with Angel, Endangered Species by Nancy Holder and Jeff Marriott. This is a follow-up to, I think it's the Unseen trilogy. And there's a lot going on in this book. We've got this guy named Chaz. His wife is a vampire named Marina, and she has an island where she sponsors demon hunts, but she wants to do something different. She wants to do a slayer hunt. So working with Wolfram and Hart, she's gotten Faith out of prison, shipped to her island, and they're going to hunt Faith, the vampire slayer. Meanwhile, Chaz is looking for this thing called the Beast of the First Blood, the father of all vampires. If you can find it and kill it, it'll end vampirism. There's some other vampire lady also looking for Beast of the First Blood to mate with it and make a bunch of super vampires. So Angel and his crew are just dealing with all of this stuff. I like Faith, so happy to read a book with her in it. This takes place during the time when Winifred, is part of the group, part of Angel's crew. So always fun to read something with her in it. And Nancy Holder and Jeff Marriott, aside from Nancy Holder's endings, she writes good stories. Jeff Marriott, another good author. Angel, Endangered Species. Let's jump into some nonfiction. We have An Askew View, the films of Kevin Smith by John Kenneth Muir. And this is basically what it says on the tin. I think this goes from Clerks to Dogma, and it just talks about, Kevin Smith and him making these movies, analyzes the movies, their meaning, the characters, talks about the characters that occur in all of his movies, up to this point, of course, which basically Jay and Silent Bob. There may be some others that pop up here and there. Can't say for sure in the first four or five. Clerks, Mallrats, Chasing Amy, and Dogma. I think that's it at this point. I'm a Kevin Smith fan. I think his really good movies far outweigh his bad movies, although I haven't seen Yoga Hosers. And I don't count Cop Out because that was just work for hire. He didn't write it, he just directed it. So huge fan of his movies, even a fan of his writing, and like his books and his comics and stuff. So yeah, I like reading this sort of thing and looking at the career of a filmmaker that I like. So An Askew View, the films of Kevin Smith by John Kenneth Muir. Then we have Seinfeld and Philosophy, a book about everything and nothing, edited by William Irwin. Quick look at the back cover copy. How is Jerry like Socrates? Is Elaine a feminist? What would Aristotle have thought of George? Is Kramer stuck in Kierkegaard's aesthetic stage of life? And then it goes on a little bit more. But this is a bunch of essays by philosophers about Seinfeld, and it takes a philosophical look at the characters in the show and also uses the characters in the show to illustrate philosophical arguments. Just some of the chapter titles. You've got things like the Costanza maneuver. Is it rational for George to do the opposite? So, in case anyone's not familiar with the episode, there is, well, an episode of Seinfeld where George Costanza decides every instinct he has is wrong. So if he does the opposite of his instincts, then that must be right. And it turns out, apparently, he's correct because he starts doing the opposite of everything that he thinks he should do, and his life just gets better. So this looks at the rationality of just that argument to begin with. If every instinct is wrong, I should do the opposite, but that creates a paradox because isn't it your instinct now to do the opposite of what you would instinctually do? Anyway, digs into that sort of thing. Seinfeld and the Moral Life. Let's see. Let's go back a page. What do we have? Plato or Nietzsche? Time, Essence, and Eternal Recurrence in Seinfeld. So there's some of the chapter titles. I really dig this stuff, the whole pop culture and philosophy library. This is the first from Open Court, which I believe is the first publisher to do the pop culture and philosophy thing. Don't hold me to that. Eventually, we're going to get to the other publisher because I have a bunch of those books, and they're on this list eventually. But Seinfeld and Philosophy, book about everything and nothing, edited by William Irwin. Really love this stuff. Really, really good stuff. After that, we have The Apocalypse Door by James D. MacDonald. This is about a guy named Peter Crossman. Kind of hitting the nail on the head with this. He's a Knights Templar in modern day America, and his name's Crossman. Well, he's sent off on a mission to find a missing UN representative, whatever. And while he's doing that, he discovers another worse thing going on. There are people looking for an unholy relic that might unleash hell on Earth. This is a supernatural sort of spy thriller. Peter Crossman has the power of God on his side. The evil guys have the power of Satan on their side. It's the kind of thing I like, generally. At least used to, back in the day. But I can't say one way or the other how I felt about this. I do not remember it in any way. But that's The Apocalypse Door by James D. MacDonald. If you like that kind of urban fantasy thing, but this is worldwide, I guess. I lost my mind for a second there. This is sort of a worldwide sprawling adventure, urban fantasy. Check this out. After that, Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow by Ed Gorman. This is the second in the Sam McCain series of mysteries. It takes place in Black River Falls, Iowa. A lot of Ed McBain stuff does. It's in 1959. And, excuse me. There's going to be Nikita Khrushchev is going to visit Black River Falls. So there's, people on both sides fighting about this. The good Americans, better dead than red. But there are some people that think, maybe Khrushchev's not that bad. One of those people ends up dead. Richard Connors ends up dead in Sam McCain's office with a hammer and sickle painted on his forehead. So Sam McCain has to figure out what the hell happened and, hopefully solve this before Khrushchev shows up. It's an Ed Gorman mystery. It's fun. It's good stuff. Sam McCain. Fun character. He's a lawyer and a private eye. And I followed that up with Save the Last Dance for Me by Ed Gorman. According to Amazon, this is the fourth book in the Sam McCain series. I don't know why I skipped the third one unless I already read it. I was reading them out of order. But in this one, there's a snake handler, tent revival snake handler kind of guy named John Mulder. Not sure how you say his name. comes to Sam McCain and says the Pope is trying to kill him. Sam McCain takes the case just to get this guy out of his office. That night, during his revival, the guy dies. He's been poisoned. Uh, so Sam's like, well, what the hell happened? Got to solve this case now. And he's got to do it before Vice President Richard Nixon makes a visit. And again, said Gorman, it's a mystery. It's fun. Save the last dance for me. Then we're getting dark. Only Child by Andrew Vax. This is a Burke book. And Burke has been outside of his comfort zone, outside of New York City because of some events in some of the earlier books. But he wants to make a return. But he has to, in his world, reputation is everything. So he has to, I think he's had his face changed. So he has to like rebuild his reputation. He ends up being offered a job by a guy in the mafia whose daughter, 16-year-old daughter, was murdered. She's from, I like how they have this in the description. She's his daughter with someone from outside the tribe, meaning non-mafia related. So it's got to be on the hush-hush. So Burke needs the money, investigates, and gets into, has to somehow get into the teenage world that this girl was in. She was like 16 and ends up becoming he's going to be the director of a movie, and he's got all these role players playing parts, but then he's going to meet someone else that possibly snuff films. In the description just says another filmmaker, and it's Andrew Vax. He goes that dark, but it's Burke. The Burke books are great. These are very hard, dark, rapid fire books. The Andrew Vax writing style, short, sharp sentences for the most part. I don't think he ever has chapters, just breaks sometimes. But they're great, great stuff, the Burke stuff. Only Child by Andrew Vax. After that, we have Backstory by Robert B. Parker. This is number 30 in the Spencer series, out of 52, I believe. And in this one, a young woman comes to Spencer and wants him to investigate a 28-year-old murder. So Spencer's going to dig into that, and he's got to leave Boston. He's going to do some traveling, so he asks Hawk to keep an eye on Susan. But there's people that, don't want Spencer to solve this old murder, so they're after him, trying to kill him, and we get some backstory on some of our characters. It's Spencer. It's Robert B. Parker. Not the best, but it's still worth reading. Pretty much any of the Robert B. Parker written Spencer books are going to be worth your time if you like private eye stuff. All right, after that, we have Clan La Sombra Trilogy, Book 2, Shadows by Bruce Bough, Baugh. Still don't know how to pronounce it since the last time I talked about this. So, following the events of the first book, our vampire Lucida has been captured by the Sabbat, where the bad vampires. They just want to take over the whole world, and they're forcing her to hunt some enemy of theirs. But meanwhile, there's a larger enemy that rising that could destroy the entire vampire world. And I followed that up with Clan La Sombra Trilogy, Book 3, Sacrifices by Bruce Bough, or however you say his name. And so these dark forces, these mystics, they're trying to raise the original founder of Clan La Sombra, which could have devastating consequences for everything. So Lucida has to team up with these Sabbat people to try to stop this worse evil. Will they succeed? Probably. But, it's about the trip. It's about the journey, not always the destination. So that's Clan Lasombra Trilogy Book 3, Sacrifices, Bruce Bowe. After that, we have Buffy the Vampire Slayer, The Cordelia Collection, Volume 1 by Nancy Krulik. This is novelization of 3 episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer that feature Cordelia Chase. The first one is Out of Mind, Out of Sight, which is from season 1, and it's about an invisible enemy that's attacking Cordelia and some other people. It's a teenage girl, student at Sunnydale High, who was so ignored that she became invisible. Sort of this they get kind of metaphysical. So Buffy and Cordelia have to team up and try to stop this young lady. Spoilers, at the end, she gets taken by the government and is going to be trained to be a government agent. Since she's invisible, possibly an assassin. The second one is from season 2, Some Assembly Required. You got a couple of mad scientist high school students who can pull a Dr. Frankenstein. They're trying to build their perfect female and decide that Cordelia has the perfect head. Actually, they build a football player. They bring a football player back to life. He wants a girlfriend, and he thinks, or they think, somebody thinks that Cordelia's head is perfect for this perfect female companion for this dead football player. Anyway, Cordelia's the focus. It's a Frankenstein story. Third one, Homecoming. It's season 3, and there's a thing called Slayer Fest, where a bunch of killers, supernatural killers, get together to hunt vampire slayers, and it's a 2-for-1 this year because Faith is in town, but they mistake Cordelia for Faith. So Buffy and Cordelia get kidnapped. They're being hunted down by these different killers when all they want to do is go to the homecoming dance. It's fun. They're all fun episodes of the show. And so if you're a fan, you want to read a novelization of some fun episodes, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, The Cordelia Collection, Volume 1 by Nancy Krulik. Then we have The Last Detective by Robert Crace. This is an Elvis Cole and Joe Pike novel. I didn't write down what number in the series. So Elvis Cole has this lady friend named Lucy Chenier, and she's gone out of town. She has left her young son with Elvis, and the kid gets kidnapped. But the kidnapper isn't asking for ransom. They just want to destroy Elvis Cole. We get a lot of backstory on Elvis Cole. We get, I think, some more backstory on Joe Pike. Joe Pike is Elvis Cole's the equivalent of Hawk to Spencer. And so they got to figure out who took the kid and how to get him back. This is a good one. I really, really like this one. I haven't read nearly as much Robert Crace as I should. I've fallen out of the habit. I need to read more, but I really liked The Last Detective by Robert Crace, Elvis Cole and Joe Pike. Then we have, this one's going to be more difficult to explain than some of the others, Vossoff and Nimitz by Adam Troy Castro. This is, and the subtitle is Just a Couple of Idiots Reupholstering Space and Time. This is 8 interconnected short stories that are actually all being told by Deja Shapiro. She is the ex-wife of Vossoff, currently in love with Nimitz. Beautiful woman. I assume they took the name Deja, Dejah, from the John Carter of Mars stuff. But she's at some like seedy space bar telling the stories of Vossoff and Nimitz on their crazy adventures throughout time and space. Let's see, their full names are Ernst Vossoff and Carl Nimitz. And it's just, like I said, it's just a bunch of short stories, 8 short stories sort of interconnected with time travel, and I think it said like rabbits the size of planets and just all sorts of crazy stuff. funny, sci-fi, over-the-top, pulpy stories. That's Vasov and Nimitz by Adam Troy Castro. The penultimate book for March of 2023 is Digital Fortress by Dan Brown. And this is about the NSA has a super invincible code breaking computer, and there's a code that it cannot break. And so they call in their expert, their cryptography expert, Susan Fletcher, to figure out what the hell's going on. And this leads to an international adventure. Having read Angels and Demons and really enjoying that book, I wanted to try some other Dan Brown. Meh. That's about all. That's how I felt about Digital Fortress. Meh. It was fine. Fine might even be pushing it. It's definitely not the best, even close to the best thriller I've ever read. Not even close to how I felt about Angels and Demons. But if you're looking for a techno thriller with chapters that are 2 or 3 pages long, if I remember correctly, it's that kind of book. That's just one thing happening after another, crazy twists and turns, possibly a little unbelievable. You can check out Digital Fortress by Dan Brown. Then the last book that I read in March of 2023 was Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Philosophy, Fear and Trembling in Sunnydale, edited by James B. South. Hard to read. And series editor, William Irwin. I'm going to read the back cover copy here because it's terrible. There's a certain feel to the dialogue on the show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. The way that, especially the way the teenagers talk. They were trying to go for that, but I think it's terrible. So, it says, if you're kind of killing time between apocalypses or just wondering about the meaning of that meaning of life thing, here's some readage. Look, these guys'll I think therefore I am you into the freaking ground. And the happy is better than shoe shopping. What? If I don't consult the oracle, I'll turn to stone? Well, yeah, if not already. Terrible back cover copy. But basically, the same thing as what we had with Seinfeld and Philosophy. This is the 4th book in the series from Open Court. And again, it's looking at the characters and the show of Buffy through a philosophical lens, and using the characters and show of Buffy to discuss philosophical ideas. Faith and Plato. You're nothing. Disgusting. Murderous bitch. All right, that chapter title doesn't say much. The I in Team. Buffy and Feminist Ethics. Let's see. Should we do what Buffy would do? I don't know. Between Heavens and Hells, the multi-dimensional universe in Kant and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Justifying the Means, Punishment in the Buffyverse. High School is Hell, Metaphor Made Literal in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So there you go. Again, just some chapter titles. I'm a bigger fan of Buffy than I even am of Seinfeld. So very, very happy with this book. Absolutely love it. One that I would love to read again, but I do have quite a few in this series that I haven't even read yet, so I should probably read those before I reread this. Either way, that's Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Philosophy, Fear and Trembling in Sunnydale, edited by James B. South. And that is everything that I read in March of 2003. What a journey we've gone on. So, question for this video: what do you think of Kevin Smith? You a fan of his movies? Do you not like his stuff? Do you have a favorite? If you do like his stuff, if you don't, why not? Have you read any of his writing? For me, obviously, I've already talked about it. I think I saw Mallrats first, and I always want to say it's the first movie I ever saw with Michael Rooker, but then I remember that he's in Days of Thunder. Um, but I believe I saw Mallrats first, then went back and watched Clerks, and then Chasing Amy and Dogma, and started seeing them in the theater when I could. But yeah, I'm a fan of the movies. Don't like Cop Out. It's terrible. And haven't seen Yoga Hosers. And Jersey Girl is not a terrible movie. I think people just expected it to be part of that Kevin Smith, Jay and Silent Bob universe kind of thing when it was just a heartfelt story about a father and a daughter. Um, so I enjoyed it well enough. It's not a crazy comedy like most of his other movies. I love Red State and Tusk when he went into that horror hole. Great stuff, and I love his Q&A things that he does at like college campuses and stuff and different places. There's plenty of videos of that. Absolutely hilarious stuff. As I said, I like his writing. I've read some of his books and his comic books. Generally, I enjoy what he does when he's writing comics, even if he can't get stuff done in time. So yeah, I am a fan. My favorite, that is a tough call. Um, I really like Dogma for a lot of reasons. I think it's very funny. I think it's got a great cast. I think I like the philosophical ideas in it. And it also has a poop monster. But um, if we're going outside the comedies, though, Red State and Tusk are really, really good. Red State's so good. It's difficult to pick a favorite. That's why I ask other people to pick their favorites. I don't want people asking me to pick mine. So, what's your favorite? That's the question. Are you a fan? Are you not? Let's talk Kevin Smith in the comments below. And if you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put those in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post spoiler warning. We try to be polite here on my channel. Please like, share, and subscribe, all the usual YouTube stuff. And if you'd care to follow me on other social media, my Twitter is at Ronan5757. My Instagram, where I post pictures of books, comic books, board games, and fuzzy animals, is Eric Smith5757. That's Eric with a K, ERIKSMITH5757. On Blue Sky, I am at EL Smith. That's all I've got for you. So until next time, read more books.